We are talking today about how to have a magical marriage, and we are going to have Rabbi Tatz. Rabbi Tatz is actually, he's a doctor and he's a rabbi, and he started an ethical Jewish ethics that he spreads all over the world. He also has written many, many books. I'll give you just Rabbi Tatz, go on Amazon, Tatz, unbelievable, have to read all of his books. And anyway, we want to start right away. We go very deep, very fast in this show. So we want to find out what even is a magical marriage. That's what we want to know.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Leah, for having me on your program. And I'm sure many people have benefited from your work, and I hope people benefit from our session today as well. But let's try to give a nutshell definition of a magical marriage. And I think probably if you had to sum it up in one principle, I would say it's to become a giver. Two people giving to each other is a recipe for bliss. Two people trying to take from each other or cooperate with each other, rights and obligations and my duties and your duties, recipe for civil war. So I would say step number one, marry a giver. If it's too late for you, then see if you can make him into a giver. And the most successful way of making someone else into a giver is to be a giver to them. Unless the person is, seriously pathologically flawed, enough love and affection and giving will result in that person becoming a giver too. It fuels further giving. And that's a nuclear reaction of two people giving to each other.
So this is awesome. How does a person grow themselves to be a bigger giver? I mean, we're having a lot of questions coming in from, okay, she's flagging, but maybe just answer that, because that would be very, very valuable, practical for people.
Okay, well, I'll start with the theory and then move to the practical in very, very short order.
Okay.
The method, the interaction, the deep version of giving and taking is what we call in human relationships, rights and obligations. This operates at a societal level as well. Every right is someone else's obligation. Your right to free speech is someone else's obligation to allow you to speak. Your right to a fair salary is an obligation of an employer to pay you a fair salary. Every right is an obligation. Your right to your property is my obligation not to steal. Now listen to this, Leah. This is an amazing thing to understand. You're an American and you live in an American society. American society and Western society focuses only on rights. The Bill of Rights, what you have a right to, does not focus on obligations. I say that again. Western democracies are focused on a Bill of Rights, and we totally focus on what your rights are and the rights of citizens. Listen to this. In the Jewish constitution, namely the Torah, it never mentions rights ever, only obligations. The Torah never mentions a right to your property. It mentions an obligation not to steal, which means this. If you look in the analysis of Torah, in the Talmud, it's full of rights, but the Torah itself, in its bill of values, in its constitution, stipulates only obligations, because if everyone takes care of their obligations, the rights take care of themselves. And the reason is this: when two people enter a contract, each one trying to do, I'll give you the most extreme example. In Torah law, you can own a slave. This is not the time to go into what that means, exactly what a slave is. But the obligation of a slave is to work hard, and the obligation of a master is to treat the slave like a brother. That's how it works in Torah. Now imagine they both claim their rights. The master says to the slave, "Why are you not working like a slave?" And the slave says to the master, "Why are you not treating me like a brother?" You have civil war. But if the master fulfills his obligations of treating the slave like a brother, and the slave does his duty correctly, you have harmony and peace. And therefore, in human relationships, there's a right on one side and an obligation on the other. The question is, which one are you focusing on? So when you enter marriage and you're focusing on your right, hey dear, you're obliged to bring in a salary and take care of me and do this and do that. And the husband is saying, you as a wife have these. They're both saying the truth, but you have war. When each one focuses on obligations, darling, what can I do for you? What's my obligation to make you happy and do for you? And she's saying the same to him. Then both of them have their rights respected, both of them through fulfilling obligations. Now you ask me for the practical. The practical is, what's your obligation in marriage? The first thought is,
you should know, Rabbi, we're getting so many hearts and thumbs up and everything. Is like, wow, whatever. You're getting a lot of feedback here that this is mind altering. Very good. Okay, I'm sorry. Practical.
So you walk when you walk into action. You're about to enter your home and greet your wife, or in your case, your husband. What does he need? What can I do for him? You see, if I may say so, men make classic mistakes in marriage, probably more than women. But if I may focus for a moment on a woman's major mistake, it's usually complaining, nagging, trying to evoke from this miserable, unenlightened, uneducated husband what he ought to be doing. And when she puts that on him, here's the typical scenario. Husband walks in exhausted, hasn't eaten since Tuesday, had his ego beaten down in the workplace. And the first thing he meets is a woman with demands and complaints, right? And how difficult it's been for her. That is destruction. Here's what a woman needs to do when her husband's about to arrive home. An hour before he's expected, she should take a bath, then make herself look stunning. Wait by the door with the children in order of age and the dog with his husband's slippers in its mouth, waiting. When he opens the door, greet him like a conquering hero. Take him to his easy chair, rub his feet, give him a whiskey, look at him with total admiration. Then you can hit him with all your problems and your complaints. But first, right, to hit a person with complaints and needs and claims, that's not the way to do it. You want your needs taken care of? First take care of his. First be a giver, and it will be richly requited.
Meaning, because it sounds like 1950s, waiting by the door, and she should also have an apron on and, like whatever, and a baked cake waiting. So we have to be clear. You're saying that she's doing that not to be, wonderful, for her ego. She's doing it because what she's going to get from that is a husband who wants to give back to her and take care of her.
I would like to modify that slightly. She's not doing it for that purpose. She's doing that because she loves him. The result will be, again, it's very important, let me put it to you this way. That the Torah never mentions a world to come. The Torah never mentions a world to come. Never. And that's the salary. That's the reward. And God doesn't mention it. Hashem doesn't mention it. And the Rambam says the reason is because he doesn't want you to do it for reward. He wants you to do it for love. Now, the Torah lets it richly be known that there'll be reward. Between the lines, it's written everywhere in the Torah. And what's the reason? If you say to your child, I want you to do this and that, and you let your child know that if he does it, it'll be very sweet. But when you call your child in and say, please make Abba a cup of coffee, I'll pay you $1. What a fallen version of a relationship. Husband says to his wife, darling, if you make me dinner tonight, I'll pay you $10 for dinner. I mean, that is business or maybe prostitution.
Yeah, no,
that's not marriage. Marriage is again, the reward is there. You need to feel good. Right. If you're not enjoying the relationship, it's problematic. But you're not doing it for that. And therefore, the Torah subtly puts it between the lines. And a marriage contract is the same thing. You're not marrying somebody to feel good. That's a very vulgar understanding of marriage. You're marrying to build love. But the rich reward will be that you'll feel good. But you'll never be doing it for that. That will be the side benefit, and that'll be the ecstasy of a marriage.
I understand the theory of what you're saying, but I know the questions I'm going to get, the feedback is when he greets me at the door, then I'll greet him at the door. Like, are you crazy? Like, I should do all that for him. He said he'd change the light bulb. He never did. He has been out of work for 3 months. He hasn't even looked for a job. This is what I'm going to get. It's why should I?
Okay, I'll tell you the answer to that. And that is that when things have become difficult and the cycle has been broken and there's tension on both sides, one of them has to break that pattern. And in my experience, it's almost always the woman who has the maturity and the ability to swallow ego to be able to do that. Most men find that, I'm generalizing, and maybe in Southern California, things are completely different in this gender-strained generation. I don't know. Okay. But by and large, men often have a problem with backing down and admitting that they're wrong and admitting deficiencies and inadequacies. Usually that's the pattern. And in the feminine mode, usually that's not a problem. And if one of them has to, I would say in the most difficult marriages I've ever seen, if one of them is prepared, and it's usually the woman, to handle it with wisdom and change the mode completely, she can completely remake a man. Some women have said to me, I'm not prepared to do that, to bend myself into a pretzel to change him. I'd rather be single. Okay, that's your right. But most women in the most difficult marriages I've ever experienced have said to me, you're right. If I could do that, I'd perfect things. Whether I'm prepared to or not is a different question. But if one of them has to change that pattern and back down and admit that they've been making demands and start giving, though it's difficult, almost always it's the woman who has the maturity to do that.
Right. Okay. And I want to take the questions from Sarit. Sarit, give me 1 second. I just want to tell everybody who's watching, I want you to know Oh, I'm hearing a reverb. Okay, I'm turning that down. I want you to know, here's the situation, that what Rabbi is saying seems insurmountable. But when I'm teaching, how to have a good marriage and everything, people are like, well, when's the men's class? When you get him to respect me, then we'll be good, But what I'm saying, how can it work? I mean, how do I get a half a dozen emails a week telling me, oh my gosh, what did you talk to my husband secretly because my whole marriage is different? It's unbelievable. It's miraculous. If the woman takes the actions that the rabbi is saying, and the woman starts to follow the Masorah, 3,000-year-old bulletproof track record of success for Shalom Bayis, for having peace in your home, starting now. If you start becoming a receiver, your husband will become a giver. It's natural. That's how it works. It's guaranteed. I'm saying, try what Rabbi is saying. Maybe like, try, but then you'll try it. And all of a sudden your husband will bring you flowers, or he'll change a light bulb, or something. He will start to give to you. You will watch it happen. Guaranteed. Okay.
Leah,
We're going to take questions.
Leah,
Rabbi, did you have something you want to say about that?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it does help to give the men a little instruction. So I would say, first of all, they can go to my website and listen to my talk on marriage, which teaches men how to behave, because they need to be taught. And you've got to spell it out for a man. You've got to say to him, listen, if you're late, you've got to call ahead. You got to tell a man, if you'd be late 20 minutes for a business meeting, you'd call ahead. Your wife's more important than any business meeting. You have to tell him. You have to tell him to buy flowers and chocolates. You've got to tell him that he can never give too much. You've got to tell him that he's in the middle of a board meeting and millions of dollars about to change hands, and his wife's on the line and he says, I'll call you back. No. You say, gentlemen, you can all wait. It's my wife. And you let her hear that. You've got to tell the men that. So they can listen to my share where they'll learn that information. If they don't listen to it, the wife needs to tell the husband, treat him like a child, raise him correctly, and teach him, darling, when you come home, bring me flowers. It's a little artificial at first, but they get the message. And therefore, it helps for them to have the instruction and to see. And then, of course, you as a gracious woman need to respond very warmly so that he sees it has its effect. Little educational process.
That's good. What your website is www.
No, akivatatz.com.
akivatatz.com. Fantastic.
And there's
Okay.
two lectures. There are two classes there called Marriage 1 and Marriage 2. And you can listen to them together. Well, the first one beats up men. The second beats up women a little. So they're both important classes, and people can listen. You can listen to them together and have a bit of a laugh.
Okay, fine. Okay, that sounds great. Okay, great.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in. You hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Perfect. Great.
Okay, I had to get off the other one. That's why you're getting the reverb. So I had to knock off the other system.
Okay,
but I see you and I know when you're ready for me. So I will be prepared with our questions. We are getting tons of likes and hearts. I think people very much enjoyed the fact that Rabbi Tatz has classes for men, because that's one of our biggest complaints, that we're doing all the work and the men get to do nothing. So it's good to know we have a place now to send them. But I have a question. It's actually from my personal question, but I'm seeing it on the social media chats as well. We all, I think, go into marriage. Even when we wrote up this post, we said, magical marriage, right? It's this fantasy of happily ever after. And we all go into marriage thinking that's what our marriage is going to be. We're going to have an amazing marriage. And we all go in, we assume that we're givers because we give to other areas of our lives. So, but at some point it all goes wrong, and then we hate our husband and we're like, why did we ever marry this man? And, people start discussing divorce and everything else. So where does that go wrong? Meaning, where does it go from this, I'm so happy, I want to be married to this man for the rest of my life, to I can't stand him? Because somewhere that giving shifts, I feel.
Sarit, I don't think there's a general answer to that question. Each situation needs to be analyzed. Where did this go wrong? Did you lose the romantic notion? Did you forget to make a special night out every week or every month? Did you not forget to celebrate an anniversary in very romantic fashion? You need to analyze each situation to see where the idealism went out of it. Was it practical? Is it money problems? Is it in-law problems? Is it just a bored habituation to a relationship? You need to look deeply into am I still a giver? Am I still idealistic? If not, why? What can I do to change the situation? I don't think there's a general answer to that.
Okay, but in that same mode, if you're giving, and it's actually one of the things that someone's writing right now. If they're constantly giving, but they're not getting anything back, and they really do feel like they're not getting anything back, and they are giving genuinely, and this person is actually writing, yes, there are other things. There is money issues. There is the children and not being connected on how to raise them. There's other issues, but her giving has never stopped, but she's not feeling like that's being reciprocated.
Okay, you know, what I'm going to do is, for this session, I managed to secure the services of the world's greatest expert on marriage. So with your permission, I'm going to call her in, okay? Can I do that?
Okay, that sounds
And
fantastic.
if this lady can get it right with her husband, anybody can do it, okay? So let's see if she'll agree. Let's see if she'll agree.
Okay, we need a drum roll. Mrs.
No
Tatz.
joke, Leah, when he said that, I thought he was talking about you. I'm like, he got the great.
That's Leah, that's you. He should think it's his wife. That's very good.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, very good.
Let's see if she'll give us some advice.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
Comes to right here.
Oh, Rabbiton, thank you so much. Hello. Thank you for being on. It's a big honor to have you. Thank you so much. Your husband's giving us very deep answers and right between the eyes, as usual, Rabbi Tatz. So what's the question that, do you know the
Yeah, the question back to just to, hi, Robertson, just to rephrase is basically women want to know, we do go into marriage wanting to be givers and wanting to put our husbands on pedestals. And we do have this dream of what marriage should be like. But soon after, I don't know if it's a year, for some it's, 2 years. Today, sadly, it's like 6 months for most people. Things get, things aren't working well, and we feel like we're giving, but our husband is not reciprocating, and we just don't feel like we want to give anymore.
Okay, so I think what's missing there is communication. So you have to be, if that can be your mindset that you want to be a giver, but if you're feeling that your giving is not, it's not satisfying you, then it means that you have to be communicating the problem. So that you're not feeling appreciated, or there's something that is not working in the giving. So I think that it's got to be that there's some, whatever it is that you're having a problem with, you have to be able to communicate, because the thing is that the wisdom, there needs a lot of wisdom in the communication of what your complaint might be. So I had a teacher in Israel who's Rabbi Tatz, and she was the one who said to us that you have to communicate what you feel without accusing or blaming. You have to find a way of saying that this, whatever the situation is that is giving you a problem, you have to be able to communicate it by saying that, making your husband aware of it. Yeah.
Can you do an example? Like, for instance, let's say the husband, he keeps, he says, oh, I'll be home at 7, and he shows up at 7:30, and, everything's, dinner's black, and the kids have, you had to put the kids to bed and whatever, and you're very upset about it. So can you give us a role play?
So the giving is, so where's the giving has to come in is that you have to forgive him, and you have to see that first you have to realize that maybe something happened and be done kafskus. So if it was something that he just didn't realize how much it was meant to you, or there was some lack of awareness there, that he didn't take it seriously enough that it was going to mean a lot to you that he came on time. So you have to make him aware that it's going to mean a lot to you that he comes on time. So you have to not say to him, well, you really let me down, and accuse him and blame him. You have to be able to say to him, it would help me so much if you would tell me before, without saying, just making him, because you're making him aware without accusing him or blaming him. You're telling him, in this like even scenario, I'm not getting upset, I'm not getting angry, I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying, in this hypothetical scenario, if you would do this, it would really help me so much. You have to like really explain how good you would feel and how much it would help me. Another thing she says is that in the same way as, like positive reinforcement, when he would do that, you would say, when you came on time, that was so helpful to me. The kids were up, the food was nice, it made me feel so good. You don't know how much you help me when you do those kind of things. Those kind of things.
On and on and on.
That's yes. Well, within reason, but you're giving the, it sounds like it's you want to always build on the positive. Whatever's positive, we try and find and make it draw awareness to it.
Like to a child, you don't say you're a bad child. You say, for a good boy like you, that wasn't appropriate.
Okay.
Right. So someone actually is saying why it literally it's so funny Rabbi Tatz just said that, because someone's saying it literally sounds like we're trying to treat our husbands like children. But before you Rabbi Tatz even answers that, somebody, Ariella on Torah Anytime live stream, said, what an amazing treat to have Rabbi and Rebbitzin Tat on. Thank you, with caps.
All caps. That's great. It is really a treat. I wanted to find out. There's
let's get her let's get her opinion on that. Is
Okay,
treating
yeah,
your husband
fine.
like raising a child? Would you say?
Well, I guess it's managing people, and you're managing people, you know, and you're trying to work on your personal relationships, and it's relationships with children, and relationships with your husband, and with all the people with whom you have relationships. It's the same work.
That was very tactful, but what she means is, yes, it's a bit like raising a child.
So we have to be tactful, right? We only have to be tactful and complimentary. Yes.
I want to find out what is, and maybe, what is the ultimate goal here? Why would Hashem make marriage? We all want to get married, whatever. Why would Hashem do that? What is the marriage state doing spiritually for us that is accomplishing in our life? Like, why are we even here? Why shouldn't we just be single? We all want to be married. What is the deep goal of why did Hashem create it this way, and what are we meant to accomplish?
And can I add to that, Leah? If that was obviously what Hashem created us for, and that is the ultimate goal, why is it so hard? I don't think there's anything harder than marriage. So why is it so hard if that is our ultimate?
We think there's nothing easier, right?
Absolutely.
Well, the deep answer to your question is that the world is a male-female relationship. The Ramban says marriage is where you learn to relate to Hashem. That means the world is a broken world. It's piecemeal parts, and our work is to make unity. And the ultimate unity is with yourself. Husband and wife are fused in the spiritual world, and they're brought down to the world separate to fuse back again. The Gemara says you long to marry because you're looking for the part of yourself that you lost. That's what we mean by Beshert. It's an opportunity to find wholeness. And therefore, there's nothing more important in the world. The whole world is created as male and female. And the world is a relationship between Hashem and us, between man and woman. All parts of the world must come together in that complementary fashion. There's no important message, no more important message in life. The very first thing that human beings had to do was relate to each other in that way. It's a completion of self for both of them. And the reason it's difficult, is because you're here to work. You're here to earn and work and develop and find completion of self. The point is that it's difficult. Is work against resistance. Just to give you an analogy, a person in the spiritual world is fused with two things. He's fused with his wife, she's fused with him, and the Jewish soul is fused with Torah. Torah is called a marital partner. Gemara says, don't call it morasha, your inheritance, call it ma'orasa, your betrothed. And therefore we work hard to get back our ancient original Torah. Child's taught the whole Torah in the womb. And then it's taken away from him, just like the woman is separated out from him. And life is a journey to find that woman, or to find that man. And life is a journey to find that Torah, which is the marital other half. And it's hard work. It's hard work because it's a process of development and completion.
But it's work. But that's the fulfillment. That is what we're here for. So it's hard work, but that is what will mean you will have arrived if you actually achieve that completeness, right?
And if you do the work correctly, you'll enjoy the work itself.
You have to get beyond the struggle.
Yeah. I have a lot of students who have, first of all, I once gave a lecture and I said, how many people have a dysfunctional, come from a dysfunctional family or from a past? And everyone kind of looks down like this, like everybody thinks they come from it. But I have people, they call and they say, they're having reactions from their past, their childhood, they grow up, they were criticized their whole life, or they were, whatever. And then they recreate it somehow in their marriage. There's this whole emotional drama that's going on. God gave them certain parents and certain history and certain baggage that they're carrying. And now they're in their marriage and their husband is doing some of the same things there, and they just are out of energy right now with everybody with COVID and people are home and their parents, they've now become also the full-time teacher and so everybody is just burned out. And how do we, where's the juice in it for them to keep everybody going and reinvigorated with wanting to create that magic in their marriage and wanting to have that closeness?
It's a big challenge, but I think that person, everybody has to try and find a way that will work for them. I think that Shabbos is an opportunity, and I think that perhaps if somehow or other Shabbos can be like a sign of an island or some way to try and bring it, because the week it's very challenging and stressful at the moment for everybody. It's a very hard, people, not everybody's got good, living circumstances, and the challenges are huge now, much more than they've been. But I would think that perhaps one should take one thing to put energy in, like maybe Shabbos, because Shabbos is a thing to build, like maybe an aspect of Shabbos, something on Shabbos that will build and grow and develop the marriage and the relationship and the simcha in the home.
This is the Sabbath on from sundown Friday night to sundown, to an hour after sundown on Saturday. And this is like an hour where, a day where you don't have telephones, you don't have no screen time, no nothing. Very beautiful. It's really time for reconvening with your husband and with your family. So that's a very good answer. And what about the baggage issue? The people who just feel like and they're not even sure of it, or their husband had baggage. I had a call last week and a woman said her husband was never kind of hugged in his whole childhood, so she said he doesn't even have the need for it, and it's a problem with the kids sitting on his lap. He just always is a little bit we don't have to go into that specific issue, but I'm saying things that people are bringing forth into the marriage. Do you have any advice for people? I'm getting a lot of that lately. I'm not quite sure why, so I just would love your thoughts on it.
I'll say something brief and then I'll hand over to the expert.
Okay.
I'd like to add something about Shabbos, if I may. And that is that, I don't know about your community, Leah, but where we live, very few people actually eat together during the week, even one meal a day. We were raised in an old-fashioned world in South Africa. Nobody had dinner at night, any night, without the whole family being present. Nobody started eating dinner before everyone was home. Today, people pass like ships in the night. I would be prepared to bet, if you ask your viewers, how many of them actually have dinner together as a family every night? Probably find, I asked this a crowd of businessmen recently, how many of them, one man only, said he has dinner, and there's a couple that have no children at home, they're semi-retired, and was the only man in the room who actually.
Ladies, type in now if you're eating with your dinner, how many nights a week and how many you commit to doing more of that. You're absolutely, that's a very, very good point. Also type in questions, because we've got them here, both of them right now. Type your questions in. Sarit will flag me. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so in a Shabbos experience where there's no technology, the phones are switched off, there's no interruptions, no telephones, and you're actually just relating to each other, sitting around the table, actually. I always tell the men in a bit of a joke, you can actually remind yourself of your wife's name, before you fall asleep with your nose in the soup. It's an amazing opportunity. In fact, we're involved in what we call kiruv, outreach to people who don't have an Orthodox background. We tell them long before the spiritual message of Shabbos, just the practicality of actually having family time together, husband and wife, just to relate to each other with no distractions, no other place to go. It's an amazing opportunity. It's worth being religious just for that.
Yeah.
Second point, if I may, I think what you said about a husband who doesn't like being hugged, there's very important practical advice to that. And that is, we have a thing called the 5 languages of love. There's a couple of good books about that, written about that. There's one book, is it called The 5 Love Languages?
Yes.
Highly recommended. The 5 languages of love. For some people, it's physical affection, but for some people, it's validation. And for some people, it's communication. Some people, it's gifts. You need to know what your husband's love language is. Now, if it's not physical affection, then you put that lower on the priorities. So everybody has a different language of love. And no use speaking to a person in your language of love when it's not his. That's like the husband who buys his wife for her birthday a new set of golf balls. No, that might be meaningful to you, but that's not a love language. And therefore, it's very important to understand the person you're giving love to, not just express your own personality. What do they need?
So Leah, I just want to read some of Torah Anytime's live stream, because we have so many amazing comments coming in. Ariella said that she actually, to something that Rabbi Tatz had said previously, I've heard that Rabbi Spetner says exactly that. She says, your husbands aren't children, your children are people. So she shifts it. So it's not that we're trying to, educate our husband as a child. We're just trying to treat him as a person, which I guess is a really nice way.
Which is what she's saying, to treat your kids like that also.
Exactly. If you treat your children like people, then it's not demeaning to your husband that you're saying he's a child. You're actually saying he's a person, treating like a person.
I like that.
Hadassah actually said, it's hard to hear that people have difficult marriages. Something is wrong with this generation. It's a me generation. Marriage is beautiful and obviously takes work. But Dina says, I think people are so overwhelmed with day-to-day life that they don't even realize their marriage is on the back burner. And just to answer the last thing, oh my God, the comments on Torah Anytime live stream is blowing up. It's blowing up the place. But just Rebecca, who answered your question, Leah, we eat dinner every night together. We make this a huge priority years ago, and it's made a massive difference in our relationship with our kids.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So that's going to be the homework for this week. In case anybody's wondering, we're going to make that's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So let's go a little bit to the depth that Rabbi Tatz is known for, and Rebbitzin, you can't have one without the other, is the from Adam and Chava, from the beginning of time, and what their relationship was. And is that a prototype of what we should be looking for? Is it Avram and Sarah that should be the prototype we're looking for? Where do we find a sort of role models for what is the perfection that we should be striving toward?
I think those are all valid, but they all follow the same theme in terms of the selfless identity of the other as self, and giving totally. Let me put it to you this way. According to Kabbalah, you can never love anyone else. You can only love yourself. You can never love anyone else, only yourself. How do you begin to love someone else? When your definition of self includes them. When you're a mature enough person to feel that that person's an extension of you. That's why love for a child is so natural, because they're an extension of you. The word Ava adds up to 13, just like the word Echad, to become one. A person, my Rebbe, Rav Moshe Shapiro, used to say that a immature person like a child, they think only of themselves. A little bit more maturity, you can bond with one other as self. After that, children, family. If you're big enough kind of person, you can feel your community. If you're bigger than that, you can feel the pain of the Jewish people. And if you're bigger than that, you can feel all of humanity and suffer and feel it in your gut when people are in pain anyway. And if you're bigger than that, you can feel the pain of the Shekhinah as well. Which means it's a question of maturity. The more of self, the more you can identify someone else as being of self. I'm afraid modern secular society is just not good at developing that. But the point is, we have Suzanne's sister who lives in Israel, and her husband's a doctor. We used to run a practice there together. And he told us a story about a very elderly couple that survived the war, who came in to see him in his office one day. And the elderly lady, she had an ulcer on her leg. And as she bent down to move her stocking so the doctor could see it, the husband leaned across the desk and he said, "Doctor, we have a sore leg. We have a sore leg." Not she or it, we. So when there's an identity of two and you feel it's an extension of self, then love's there automatically. And therefore, that's the image. I would add something else, if I may. You asked for something more in depth. It's really a man's mitzvah to marry, not a woman's. It's a man's mitzvah. The Torah postulates, posits the mitzvah on the man. Woman has no mitzvah to marry. So many years ago, a very talented young lady, exceptional young lady, the fact that she's our daughter is irrelevant. She said she wants to ask my Rebbe a question, Rav Moshe Shapiro, right? Rav Moshe Shapiro, one of the great thinkers of the last generation, right? Outstanding Torah personality. We gained an indescribable amount from him. She said, I want to ask him a question. So we went together and she asked two questions. She said, number one, why do I have no mitzvah as a woman to get married? Hashem, I want to do what Hashem wants. If he wants me to marry, surely he would tell me. And secondly, why was Chava cursed in an area that's optional? Why did God curse Eve in an area that's optional? Difficulty in pregnancy, pain in childbirth. But hey, if you don't want to do it, just don't do it. I mean, what does that mean? And he said to us something.
Smart daughter. It's really, really good. Wow, amazing. Okay, sorry.
You said both your questions are answered with the same answer. Mitzvahs are always given in areas of your deficiency. Mitzvahs are strategies to overcome problems. The Zohar calls mitzvahs eitzes. The mitzvahs are always given in an area where you need building. No one wants to give their money away to other people. There's a mitzvah to do so. People like to express themselves in self-control. There's a mitzvah to control it. Mitzvahs fix problems in your personality. For example, women have no time-bound mitzvahs, time-bound positive mitzvahs. Why? They cycle with time. The woman's physiological cycle, medicine has no idea how it works. It's linked to the moon. No one knows how that works. They don't need to be beaten into a time cycle. Mitzvahs are given where you need them. And here's the secret. A man needs a mitzvah to marry. Woman doesn't need to be told. Hashem says to a woman, I can leave it to you. I give you mitzvahs where you need to be beaten into it. And therefore, she doesn't have the mitzvah, not because Hashem doesn't want it, but because she doesn't need to be told. And that's why Chava was not cursed in an area that's optional. She was cursed in an area that's of her essence. And that's why the Talmud always assumes that women have a much more intuitive and deep understanding of the nature of a relationship than men who need to learn it.
Wow, that's so fantastic.
And I think you'd agree that's a wisdom of woman, right? It's a wisdom of bring out that natural womanly wisdom in how to conduct the relationship without letting personal hurt get in the way and create blocks.
Can I ask you for between the two of you, 5 practical things a woman can do, like today, starting today, 5 things that she can do to gain closeness to her husband, to have the magic reinstated into her marriage, to bring that closeness and that to shift things, because everyone's so beaten down now, like and is carrying so many grudges and so much really so now I'm going to be all nice to him and make him his nice meal, and I know afterwards he's just going to go on his computer, or he's going to do something, he's going to do stuff that's going to really upset me, so they're kind of built a lot of resentment and a lot of I'm just kidding, because I speak with so many women, and a lot of things are never going to change. It's almost like they've lost hope. So if you could come up with sort of 5 practical things that aren't, greet him at the door, which we should be greeting him at the door. It makes them feel like $1 million. Okay, fine. And they should greet us at the door, maybe, if I don't know. But I'm just saying that, some really things that a woman can do right now that could really alter things.
Well,
dun, 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 dun.
Okay, you want to go?
I don't know if you have something to say. Do you want to think of it more?
No,
well, I'll start with a couple while she's thinking.
Okay, thank you.
One thing, you said cook a nice meal, not a bad idea. The way to many men, their love language could well be through their stomach. So it doesn't harm to cook something really nice and make fuss about it. That means I'm doing this for you. That's number one. Number two, I would say, is take care of yourself. If you look nice when you're dating, it's very important to look nice after you're married. Here's a man who's dating, and he's dating because the first time in 18 years he's wearing a clean shirt and smelling like a flower. Okay, so now he's dating. And then he gets married and starts to change shape. That's not respectful. Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, great rabbi of the last generation, is walking up the steps to his home in Yerushalayim, 80 years old, and he makes his coat look nice. So his student says to him, Rabbi, do you have guests at home? He said, no, my wife's home. 80 years old, he wants to look cool for his wife. So that's very important. That's very important. If you're in shape and you look good and you take care of your appearance when you're dating, then you've got to do it after marriage. In Western society, women, very often, when they go out in the street, they look stunning. At home, they look like something, that the cat dragged in. That's not good. You should look nice in the street. At home, you should look stunning. And therefore, would you agree with this?
Of course.
Can I ask you, Rabbi, I think that's just in the too hard basket in any case, but particularly during COVID, when it's like getting out of pajamas is already a challenge for many people. I think that might be, it seems like it's in the too hard basket. I get it, I hear it. And, and I also, some women say to me, Rabbi, and I don't mean to, please forgive me, but some women say that, if he just loves me for my physical whatever, then in other words, that's so emotionally fraught with whatever that I think let's put it on the side, because I'm just worried to give people guilt for not being who they think they should be, or who Rabbi is telling them they should be, when that's just, I think it's too hard. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, I hear that, but I guess to whatever extent, just to take it into, for some people it might be an option. And if it is an option, then it's something that would be appreciated. So, not to put yourself under pressure, but if it's one of the options that's available to you, use it as an option.
Yeah. Right. And I think what I appreciated in how Rabbi Tatz worded that was, I don't think, from what I understood, it was like, well, you're getting dressed to go out. So it's not like you can't get dressed. But why are you getting dressed to go out for other people and you can't put that same effort into your own home? So It's true. As much as I could sit there and be like, well, he should love me for who I am, and he didn't marry me just for my looks and blah, blah, blah. End of day, I know deep down, if I'm getting dressed to go out for lunch with my friends or even to go out to the store, I'm getting dressed, but I don't have the ability to like fix myself up or, you know, put on a little lipstick when he comes home. That's kind of sad.
Yes,
You
and
know?
it's not respectful. You know, in a marriage, just because two people are tremendously close to each other, that doesn't mean there shouldn't be a royal type of respect as well. You don't need to do things that are disgusting or discuss disgusting things just because you are that close. There's also a refinement and a respect that needs to be there as well in the marriage.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Okay, that's very good. Thank you. And thank you for my forgiveness of my, trying to make people feel okay. And maybe we'll go on with number 3. Is that you, Rebbitzin, or Rabbi, you have another practical?
Another practical tip.
Yes, I have another practical tip, and I think that's carved out private time together, special time together, you know, and it has to have certain rules. Today, you have to tell people no phone. I saw a couple out at a restaurant some time ago, romantic, candle burning. They're both sitting on their phone, you know, like maybe they were texting each other. I don't know, you know, maybe that's the way they communicate. But no, you know, that phone's got to go off. It's dedicated time. So, you know, we carve out some time and we do stuff. You know, we play Scrabble together because she always beats me. So that helps me with my ego, you know.
But for the date time, because we do talk about the special time together. One of the questions I always get is they just evolve into talking about the kid should go to this camp, or this one should wear a mask, whatever they're sort of dealing with. It just becomes these intense, stressful times. And if they just so then if you give them advice, go out on the date, but no talking about stressful things, then they go and they just have fun. And then they talk about mindless stuff. And then they are frustrated afterwards because 2 days later, they're like, when we were together, we should have decided where the kid is going to camp, or we should have figured out which car we're getting, and we should have figured out what we're, the washing machine, are we going to get the repairman to fix it, or are we going to get a new one? So how do you divvy up the close times together with practical versus just pleasure, or just light? How do you do that?
Yeah, it's all about wisdom and juggling and timing, and you just have to have your finger on the pulse and see what's an appropriate time for this and what's an appropriate time for that, and try and do whatever it is it's going to build the best out of the particular situation, and be practical as well. That's important. You have to do what's practically important, because functionality is, it's got to run as well.
It could be, for the listener, for everybody, is it could be like when you say you have a rule with each other, when you're driving to the date on the car, you can talk about all the annoying stuff, but once you get to the restaurant, who's going to restaurants now? But anyway, whatever, once you get to the destination, or if you're going on a walk, whatever it is, you're going on a hike, that at that time it's all business off, maybe something like that. But the thing about turning the cell phones off, that's a must-have in this day and age. Okay, do we have number 4? Number 4, practical tips. And
well, while they're thinking of number 4, I'll give them a little a few minutes for Rabbi and Rabbi Tatz to come up with number 4 and 5. Yudit from Torah Anytime live stream said we eat lunch and supper together. So especially now in COVID, that's, if a husband's home, why not? Amazing. And Ariella said, Baruch Hashem, we have 2 babies. We try to have dinner as a family most nights. Dinners at 5:30, obviously, because of the kids. And we try to make date night when the kids are sleeping. It's very hard, but we definitely try.
Great. Good on you, everybody. That's good. Keep up the good work. Okay, you just have a couple more minutes to type in your questions for the Tatzes. We're going to go to number 4. Okay, go ahead.
I have something.
Yeah.
It helps if you share a common interest, which is higher. You learn something together if you're able to do that. You have a common goal. You have an aspiration for a child or your family. You discuss something that's not mundane, something that is, you're living for something in the world. If it's clear to you that your relationship is only practical, it's only about fixing washing machines and practical stuff, there needs to be time, even if it's only Shabbos, or even if it's only that once a week walk that you take. And we share a lot of things that are far above the mundane. In fact, we've spent very little time discussing mundane stuff. No, Suzanne just handles all the practicalities. She does it much better than I do anyway. So, why would she?
No, there's always practical things to work out, but we try and fit them in. I think that's also a thing that you have to do. I think it's a lot about timing, and I think that that's a very important aid, so that You have to have you have to know when is a good time to see that sometimes it's just not a good time to talk about certain things. And to even if there's some things you need to discuss or you need to know, you just have to be respectful. You have to be respectful and considerate. I think you have to see like how you can be more respectful and considerate in what
would that look like? What would respectful and considerate look like? What is
like if your husband's really busy doing something, even if it's something you don't think is important, but he would appreciate that time to finish what he's doing, that would just be a kindness and respectful and considerate to give him that time and to see when else you could do or ask what it is that you need, put it off. Can't do whatever, because it's all part of giving, and that's an important thing of giving, to be considerate and respectful, to try and see if are there things that you could be more considerate and respectful about, because that would be appreciated, I think. That's something that would be good. And another thing that I actually heard a talk of Sarah Riegler this week, and she talked about being grateful, and you should make a list of all the things you're grateful to your husband for, and you should tell him what they are. So maybe that's another thing you can think about, because we're thinking that we especially, as you say, we're kind of looking at what's wrong and what's no good. Try and focus on what you can be grateful about, and that's a very important thing to make you feel happy and more self-satisfied and less resentful and all those kinds of things. Just be
exactly what Rabbi was saying about thinking about what, and rather than think what your rights are, he should be treating me this way, which I get all the time. I mean, I feel that myself, kind of like built into the bria, built into ourselves, what he should be doing this, and he should be, like all of the rights, rather than think of what are my obligations, and the obligation to smile. How's that for an idea? The obligation to be considerate, the obligation to be respectful. I have a lot of women who have trouble with the perspective, because the Rambam says you need to respect your husband exceedingly, and the women are like, when he respects me, I'll respect him. And so we hear that, and sometimes a lot of times I say, you're right, he should respect you as much as you respect you, maybe more than himself. However, the number one way to get him to respect you is to respect him. So what would be, because you're saying consideration and respect, what would be some examples of respecting?
So to just, I guess, to understand and know what's important to him. You have to know what's important to him and to take those things into account. And then,
Give the right
like he wants more salt in his soup, or I'm not sure what you mean by.
I guess it's uninterrupted time. There's certain times where he would appreciate not being interrupted. You might think it's annoying, or why does he need that much time? But if he needs that much time to think about a certain thing or finish off a certain thing, allow him that, instead of being resentful about it. So, and if it's too much, and then you have to be able to make him aware and say, how much time do you think you need to do? Could you give me a little bit of time to discuss this and this? I know you need this, at which point, I don't want to take your time, but maybe you'll give me some time, because I'd like to discuss this and this with you. And like give him
it's a warmth, a yumminess, rather than being resentful or angry at it. It's just flipping it on upside down. It's fantastic. We're going to take a couple of questions, and then we want to come back for number 5. So go ahead, Sarit.
So actually, it's interesting, Leah, with what you're saying is, with the putting more salt in the soup, that's actually, being really, it's one of the things that I have with my husband, and it's not from like a me not caring. It's just me just not even sometimes remembering, but like there's certain things he does not like certain spices in foods, and I'll see this amazing recipe and I want to try it, and I'll make it thinking like, this is amazing, and I'm so excited about it, and I love it. And he's like, really doesn't like it. And I'm thinking, you're right. Like I'm not making him what he wants. And it's such a little thing, because it's not like he doesn't have other things to eat. And it's not like in the long run, he doesn't care. He wants me to make things and try new things. But as you said that about the soup, I'm like thinking, wow, it really like hit home that it really does make a difference if you salt it or not salt it. Like that is such a respect issue.
I know, and it sometimes can be very hard, because you're like, I remember people used to come to my house, and they'd be gluten-free, and I'm like, oh, you're making it up. You're whatever. Then I became gluten free. It's like Hashem has a sense of humor, but it's like then now I'm like, it's like I'm super. When someone comes, I'm like, okay, does anyone have any food allergies? Does everyone, it made me a better person to have to sort of, I guess deal with it myself and just realize that's where we should be heading with that's called growth. That's called maturity, and that's called getting over that line that they're talking about, being considerate about what other people are going to need. Okay, let's go back to number 5. Dun, 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 dun.
I think compliments is a good idea. Compliments. When you look for something you can genuinely compliment, it makes you appreciate the person. So, no matter how dysfunctional your partner is, they're doing something right. They're anxious about making money and supporting you. Compliment that. I mean, whatever it is they're doing that they're focused on, that it has value. They go learn a little bit, compliment that. This is not childish. I mean, you're building the thing that is positive. And if you express it, it has a tremendous effect.
Definitely.
So fantastic. Okay, so I want to end up with finding out exactly what a magical marriage is and how, and you've given us a lot of ways to achieve it, but just a little bit of a, we know where we are. Everybody knows, well, maybe they don't know. You're somewhere over here, and here's where we want to get to in our marriage. How do we transfer, what's the word, Siri?
Transcend.
Thank you. How do we transcend to get to this level of having a magical marriage? What is a magical marriage? So that we can sort of have a picture in our mind of what that would look like.
And sorry, just to add to it, can somebody do it even if they've been married 20 some years and they really have now a lot of baggage in the marriage? Can they reach just like good, or is that possible for them to reach magical?
Do you want me to speak?
Go first.
I think the key is focusing on what the other person needs. If you can honestly ask yourself, not I'm hungry, I need this. What does she need now? What does he need now? You focus on that and enjoy building it and giving it. Inevitably you will have a positive response. There are people with so much baggage that it's very hard for them. I can't say that every situation can be corrected, but it's well known that the Gemara says quite plainly that if a husband and a wife, which one is going to have the effect on the other one? It's the woman who affects the man. You can take a king and make a rag out of him, a shmata out of him. You can take a shmata and make a king out of him. You have that ability because of your womanly wisdom, your ability to put your ego in the background, your natural empathy, which is given to you as a gift for relating to children. With that empathy to understand deeply, very often a woman understands more deeply what the man needs than he knows himself. So when you put that consciousness into it, what is it that he really needs now? And enjoy the process of giving. You build the person into somebody very special who only wants to give to you. Is it going to work always? I don't know. Maybe there's some people and so much time has gone by with so much damage, it may be very difficult. But if you can swallow your pride and you can put aside the damage and you can decide to build something amazingly incredible, right? And even though he'll be a little surprised at first, okay. But when you put in that effort and you're doing it as a special and there's a romantic side to it and you use your sensitivity, you can make amazing changes.
And I can add one thing that I think that the way is to really to daven about it. You need help, and you have to know that you need to pray about it. You need to get some. You need to know to focus on drawing down inspiration and light and help when you from the one who gives the help, because you need help to do this, and you need the right focus. You need to be putting your energy in the right direction to bring out the correct results, the best and the highest and the most connected.
Gorgeous. Okay. Wow. We got a lot. We get everything we wanted to get out of this show. You were beautiful and wonderful. I'm so happy and fortunate. I feel honored to have the Rebbitzin. Also, Rabbi, I'm a long time fan, so I'm just very, very happy. You can read Rabbi's books. Just go either on akivatatz.com, AKIVA Tatz, TATZ.com, or you can go on Amazon, order his books. I'm telling you, you will be a more elevated, transcendent person by reading that. Thank you so much, Rabbi.
I want to show you my latest book because Suzanne did the cover.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, let's see.
She painted the cover.
As Dawn Ends the Night. What a beautiful, mystical, what's it about?
It's about the movement of history into the darkness, where we no longer can see Hashem clearly, and we have to figure things out on our own. And that happened at Purim time. And so it's a dawning of a new age where there's no prophecy and no miracles, and we have to learn to see in the darkness.
Wow. Mind blower. Okay, I count me in. Okay, what's the Amazon link? Okay, fine. Thank you very much for being here on the show today. It was very enlightening, very inspiring, and we're very, very grateful to both of you. And thank you very much. And stay on because we're going to do the homework. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. This is Leah Richeimer for Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next time.